Yo guys, Theo here on Common Sense. I'm right in the midst of cutting fat right now and it's going really well. I started out 2 weeks ago to the day at 92.5 kilos. This morning I weighed 88.9 kilos, so 3.6 kilos or 8 pounds down in exactly 2 weeks. Clearly I'm still quite fat though, about the same amount has to go before I consider myself happy with this. But yeah, just being right in the midst of it really makes it clear to you, like what different little tricks and adjustments do I do to get me to where I want, right? So I figure I'll do a video where I don't go through my entire cutting or weight loss philosophy, but just what I've been focusing on right now and what's working really well for me. So the first thing that must be mentioned, of course, is that I use prolonged fasting, meaning I do not eat anything for multiple days in a row. At times, right? I implement this in a very certain way, and if this happens to be the first video of mine that you see, just go browse or search the channel for fasting. You'll find more details. What I'll say here is just that, first of all, it's obviously the biggest calorie deficit you can be in. Do not eat for several days. You do not lose muscle as long as you get back to eating protein and training afterwards. And honestly, for a lot of people, not eating at all is easier than still eating but holding back and doing it for even longer time, right? It's like that saying that it can take more discipline to take one piece of candy than to take no piece of candy at all, because when you had that candy, now we want more, right? And yeah, also what it makes it so is that you're still going to have to watch how much you eat on days that you eat. I've definitely seen people that do multiple day fasts but then don't lose weight because they think that, oh, I'm fasting, I can kind of eat whatever I want on the other days. But it does make it so that if you have a calorie target, let's say it's something that I often do, like a weekly 60-hour fast, and you have a calorie target on the other days, if you overshoot that by 200-300 on a few days, it's not going to make you not lose weight. It's going to slow it down a little bit. But you see, if you can completely fast for a few days, then you just don't have to be quite as precise on the other days, right? And so I did a longer fast, as some of you will know, but I'm actually about to start another 60-hour fast this evening. Second thing I would say is intermittent fasting. Now, I'm someone that always see 16-8 as sort of a baseline that I follow, but I will go outside of that when I'm during a bulking phase, right? But intermittent fasting, and specifically 16-8, what it often ends up being for most people is really like skipping breakfast or delaying breakfast. Like, I don't even think of my meals so much as like breakfast, lunch, or it's like the first meal, the second meal, right? But honestly, delaying eating in the day is a good strategy to be able to stick to a deficit in a day. Even if you'd be someone that feel like, oh, but I do feel like eating earlier in the day. Well, if you can push it a few hours, it's not like you're gonna get hungrier and just like binge because you ate a few hours later. No, if you can get through those first few hours, now it's more likely that you're gonna be happy with what you eat on the entire day, right? So I will often have my first meal sometime in the forenoon. My second meal, that's the biggest one, there will be like a late lunch pretty much, and then I'll have my last meal. And most days, because I've delayed it like that, I will feel it. I train in the morning, Sunday, I will feel a little like, I'm a little hungry. But when I structure my eating this way, it's just the most likely, it will be the easiest overall to stick to a calorie deficit in a day. Next thing is that I reduce fat in my diet. Like, obviously, when you reduce calories, I reduce carbs a lot too, but I want to be able to still have some carbs to fuel my performance in training. And protein is the one. We're going to talk more about protein in a bit, but protein is the one I don't want to touch at all. If anything, I'd like to eat more protein when I cut, because, well, when we get more to the protein, but fat, I'm not someone that's like against fat. Like, compared to someone that's on like a keto or carnivore diet, which I'm not very, pro, other than like a temporary intervention. Compared to someone like that, obviously I would eat low fat, but compared to the typical fitness person, I have not high fat, but more of a moderate fat diet. Like, I'm not afraid to eat like a bit fattier meat and eat a lot of eggs in my diet. But fat, of course, is the most calorie dense macronutrient, 9 calories per gram, while both protein and carbs are 4 calories per gram. And so, for instance, I'd like to be able to eat a lot of eggs. What I do temporarily right now to get my protein needs met from my meal with eggs, what I do is that instead of eating like 6 to 8 eggs, whole eggs that I often will, I will take like half of those with the yolk And then I bought egg whites separately so that I can get up to like 40 or 50 grams of protein in this meal, still with some egg yolks, but just fewer temporarily, so I don't get as much fat. It's going to be a leaner meal overall. And something else that I do is, like, again, moderate fat is when I buy meat, really good, like ground beef from a butcher, and it's not like the leanest, it's not 5%, it's not the fattiest, like 15 to 20%, it's like 10%. But if I want to get a good amount of protein from that, it would, with the amount of fat, 10% is still gonna be quite a bit. So what I'll do is that maybe I'll take half the amount that I'd like for my protein, and then fill up. I buy some chicken or some other leaner red meat, just so I can again get my protein needs met from the meal, but lower fat, lower calories overall. And so there are different things I do to reduce the calories. Like I would usually eat rice with my eggs, which I remove completely at the moment when I cut. But with my biggest meal, which would be the one with the meat or chicken that I told you about here, right? What I do is I choose more satiating food. So white rice, it's a great bulking food. It's pretty much just easily digestible starchy carbs, right? So that are easy to eat a lot of when you're trying to gain weight and fuel performance. That's a main goal. But so now I don't eat white rice at all, and instead eat potatoes, because it's a slower it's more nutritious than white rice, first of all, but it's also slower digesting, it is more satiating. So that is just gonna make it easier, again, to stay fuller and feel more satisfied, even in a calorie deficit. And so protein, again, like I mentioned, it's like, honestly, most people, so many people, if they just focused on, well, I want to get at least 30 to 50 grams of protein, sometimes more if eaten on a lower eating frequency would each meal. For a lot of people, that would be life-changing. They would lean out just from that. But we want to focus on protein always, really, even if we're not a fitness person, especially old people, can't help but mention this, that people that aren't like into fitness and have a protein awareness, they really undereat protein. They don't even understand how much it would benefit them to focus on that. And so we always want, as a fitness person, of course, but especially when we're cutting, there are multiple reasons that, first of all, like, we're gonna need it to support our muscle mass, right? You're not really, just like losing muscle, you have to fail tremendously with your training or do something drastic. It doesn't really happen. But one of the things to not make it happen is to eat high protein, because you're eating at a calorie deficit. You want to make sure that, well, there's definitely enough building blocks for the productive lean mass that I want to hold on to, right? But it's also the most satiating. High protein will make it easier to be full and again feel satisfied, feel satiated in a calorie deficit. And so something that I'll do, that if I on a day, just because of what the day looks like, had to start eating a bit earlier still, or I just happen to be way more active than I expected to on the day, so I just moved more, burnt more calories, then sometimes you can feel in a deficit or prolonged, you can feel a little like wired in the evening when you're gonna go to bed. And eating something is a way to kind of take the edge off that. But again, you want to focus on protein then. So for instance, what I've done on those few days is that I have, in Sweden it's called kvarg, I don't know what it's called in English, but it's pretty much a dairy product that it's a lot of protein, and if you choose the right one, it's almost only protein, right? That's another thing. You should always, when you pick your foods, well, we'll get back to that, but you need to watch the label and see which brand of the food has the best macros, right? But so I will have some kvarg if I have to in the evening. That will give me like 20 to 30 grams of protein, which is like 100 to 150 calories max. So, just to take the edge off that little hunger, that little maybe stress hormone elevation to kind of wind down in the evening, and do it from protein again. Like always, if we want to eat more, if we somehow are looking to, for whatever reason, eat a bit more than is like the baseline plan for our cut, it should come from protein as much as possible. But that would be a thing, I mentioned some of the foods that, I should get back to that. Now it's a bit unstructured, but the protein yogurt that I do, that I have a video on, when I bulk, it's like Greek yogurt, fatty Greek yogurt, 10%, and protein powder and honey, right? I will put berries in there, but I will put nuts in there. And the goal is kind of to make it calorie dense at that point. Now I want the complete opposite. I'd like to have the same volume of food to eat again, because we're trying to be be a bit satiated, right? Just way lower calories. So what I do is I take the Greek yogurt, just like a click, to kind of mix with the honey. Then I take a kefir, it's low fat. And so now I have the base of this with way lower fat, and instead of nuts I put Rice Krispies, like rice puffs in there. So now it's a lot of volume to eat, and it tastes great, but it's just way less calorie dense than it was before. But so yeah, what I was going to say is that I'm talking about some foods that I eat, and of course you can follow my diet to a T. Like I know many of my clients and people that just follow me end up eating very closely to me. But you don't have to. But the point is, you see, I mention these things just to give you ideas of swaps that you could do. Like you take what you usually do, but find a good way to adjust it so that it works out better for a weight loss diet, right? So the last thing I'll mention is just I go out of my way to move more. Like I always say that if you like running, if you like doing some kind of cardio, like great, that you can use that as a means of creating your calorie deficit. But that's the beautiful thing with burning calories. It doesn't have to come from intense activity. If you just move more, you're going to burn more energy. And so I will... First of all, what I like about walking is, apart from that, it's not really that tough. Like you have to walk a really long distance for it actually to be like something to recover from, something that's kind of takes a toll on you, right? It's like, it's a good return on investment calorie burning wise compared to like how difficult it is to do, right? But what I also like about it is that it doesn't have to be this extra thing. Like, oh, I've done my strength workout and I gotta get my cardio in. It's like it can often be an instead of, instead of taking the bus, instead of taking the car, you can take certain distances just by walking. Or if it's too long, what you can do if you drive a car is that you can just not drive all the way up to the place, just stop so that you get a bit of a walk in at least, right? But so I will go out of my way to just use walking as a means of transportation. A quick example that I've been taking dance classes, and I was bulking. I would walk there, but then take one of these like rentable e-scooters home. Now I walk home too, because yeah, I'm gonna get home anyway. Might as well walk and burn some more calories. But then what I try to do on most days, depending on what my schedule looks like, is like either earlier in the day, I try to get like a good hour of just walking in the forest in, where, maybe I have some tasks I can do or listen to something, or if I have more to do earlier in the day, I try to get a long walk in later. But that's active walk like that, but also looking. There's every opportunity, like you can even come up with, like if you have a bit of time and you technically don't have to go to the store and buy something right now, it's like, well, that's good. That's extra calorie burn for me on my cut right now. So let me just think. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure, but these were really, because I've been thinking, when you've been bulking for a long time, you start cutting, you really become aware of what things that you do that really help you. And these would be the main things for me, guys. So please like and comment anything that came to mind that you'd like me to talk more about, like fasting and dieting, and that there's so many things you can talk separately about. So please let me know in the comments. I do holistic bodybuilding coaching, getting jacked and stacked mentally, physically, spiritually, becoming that person that is jacked through their way of being the person that they are, relentless in their positive habits and mindset. So please, if you're interested, send me a DM on Instagram or email me, and it's in the description below. I'll get back to you with my different programs and offers. You can pick up my training book, everything training, philosophy, mindset related that you need, bulking, cutting included, in order to become a self-reliant, jacked and stacked individual. Please subscribe for more content about fitness, fast losing weight, building muscle, self-improvement, stoicism, mental health, philosophy, spirituality, mindset. It is a mindset, guys. Let's get shredded. Peace.